The importance of financial independence for women. Breaking the cycle. Hello, and it's Dr. Kirsten Hunter with Signpost for Living. We have got gorgeous Bec Balfour here. Hello.
Hi, how you going?
I'm good. And I just asked Bec if she's listened to many of these, and you have.
Yes, definitely. Quite a few, actually.
That's really good. And so you're a bit familiar with the plan, how it all plays out?
Yes, yep.
Must be weird to be on this side, isn't it?
It is very different to be on this side.
So everyone, gorgeous Bec, we've known each other for quite a while, and Bec was chatting with me about how she went and did a talk with a group of people, and I thought, hello, what a great conversation, come and talk with me. And what was the presentation that you went and took part in?
So I was invited to be one of the guest speakers in a forum held in Toowoomba here in southeast Queensland, and it was regarding women in business, so highlighting women in business, but also highlighting their journey, their business journey and personal journeys. So that resulted in my personal story also coming out as well as my business journey. So background was being financially independent has given me choices in life. So from a previous relationship, there was severe DV, and being financially independent gave me the options to actually leave that relationship. So the talk was along the lines of empowering our younger women to help them to see the benefits of their own financial security so that they have choices in life. And for those who are fortunate enough, like myself, to be in a position where I am now, that we become mentors for those young women and guide them and help them to find those pathways to that financial independence so that they have those choices. Hopefully they won't need them, but they've got them if they do need them.
And you've got a real fire in the belly with this one.
Yes, very passionate about this.
Which is great.
We need to see change, and if no one speaks up, nothing will ever change. So the more people who can help and communicate to other people and share their stories, it will hopefully bring about generational change.
Absolutely. And when you went to do this talk, did you plan to go into your history with the DV, or was it kind of in the moment?
It was part of the topic. I did plan to go there. I probably haven't shared this story. That was the first time I have publicly shared that story. So it was briefly planned, but it moved a lot more people than I ever anticipated in the audience that actually came up to me and spoke afterwards. So actually sharing what has happened to myself and my family actually impacted a lot of people in that room. So they actually came up and spoke to me afterwards. So I was very pleased that I stepped out of my comfort zone and actually shared with other people.
Because we can feel very alone in our experience, hey? And so when someone comes and speaks and we can relate and either inspiring us moving forward or healing with our own background, it's so connecting, isn't it?
Yeah, like I personally, when I actually left with my children, I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed that I had actually left the marriage. Like I had no confidence. I had no self, I suppose. So to get, and it has taken a lot of work over the years, but to get to that position where I could actually share that story without emotionally breaking down or feeling that that being ashamed was, to me, was it's taken a very long time. So
it's full circle, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's something that needs to be shared, because if I can help one person in that situation, well, it's worth sharing.
Yeah. I obviously do a lot of work with domestic violence, and I feel a lot of frustration with the ignorance out there. A lot of people who don't have any experience will say, why don't you just leave? Which is a profoundly ignorant comment. And of course they don't understand the role of attachment, when you're just in this space where you might be emotionally attached. or maybe that's left the building a while ago. It's often we're in a comfortable space. We desensitise and it becomes normal to be in such a dysfunctional relationship. And we worry about social reaction, which
I did.
You did. Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you know, there's a whole lot of other reasons, but an enormous factor is finances.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, people say, well, why don't you leave? Well, it's not that easy often. You have to be able to
you lose your whole sense of identity. Like you lose you are beaten down to a pulp. You have no self-worth left in the bucket.
So you're needing to jump ship and rebuild against somebody who has, you know, been quite a force against you at a time when you're incredibly vulnerable.
Correct. Yes. And if you don't have some sort of financial stability of your own, they can control that. So if they're controlling the money, there's not a lot of options out there for you to actually leave. Like there's a lot of marketing and advertising about DV, but when it actually comes to the crunch, there's not a lot of services out there that you can actually reach out to get that out, I suppose, to help you get out. It's definitely not an easy decision to make, and it's definitely not an easy move to undertake. Like it was massive. I felt extremely deceitful leaving with my children.
Why?
I just packed up our life and walked out when he went to work one day. But that was the safest thing for myself and my kids. But me personally, I felt deceitful because that's how I left. But yeah,
But you can't come and have an open conversation and have that process with a constructive kind of shared understanding if that person's not going to listen to you and respect you.
No, and there was the violence, and there was, you know, the mental abuse and the control. Like you cannot, and people say, well, how did you get into that relationship? But you kind of lured into this false sense of security. It doesn't start like that, and it just slowly gets worse and worse over time. But
that's also an ignorant question, isn't it? Because, you know, somebody who's got a bad side is not going to show you that at the beginning of the relationship.
Oh, definitely not.
So this isn't what you signed up for.
No, definitely not.
No. So it's a very deceitful process to come into it, actually. That's where the deceit is.
And then by the time you've lost yourself, you've completely lost your personality, where you go, who you hang out with, you've got nothing left in the tank to fight back. Like you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, you know you're not safe. But when it became physical, I had no other choice. It was, next time it's going to be my children. So how do I do this? So that was the point. That was the turning point for me. Like, next time, what if it's not me?
Yeah, and also often in this situation, there's lots of isolating you from family and friends. So, you know, you're also not. Usually, we haven't told everyone what's going on because we're not that open.
Correct.
And so it's also a big wall of disclosure. We've got to tell everybody about this, and you know.
I had to tell my parents about that. My father sensed something was wrong. And when he just sensed it, and he rang me and he said, what's going on? And I just said, I have to leave for my kids and my own safety. But I don't know how I'm going to do this. So logistically, I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
But I was lucky that I do have my own business, and I did have enough money to get where we needed to be. So we moved out, and I was very fortunate. I got to move back in with my parents for a short time until I found my feet. So I was very, very lucky in that instance. But, you know, I did have money coming in, so I could make those choices It was still very hard, but I could make those choices. You know, like some days there was only enough money for food for the kids, so you'd feed them, but you wouldn't always get fed yourself. You know what I mean? Like you made sacrifices to make it work, but I still was able to leave. I wasn't stuck there because I couldn't physically go anywhere because there was I had no money to do anything.
And this is where we really step into this whole area of how important it is for, I would say, men and women, but, you know, obviously we're going to talk more about women, but to be in a financial position to strategize, I guess, with looking at your work field or trying to create that financial security generally, just so that you're not in a vulnerable position. So if you ever find yourself in a you know, toxic relationship, you have choices.
That's right. And it also, I think it's also healthy for relationships to both have independence. Like I think it's healthy for both of you to have something that you're passionate about. So I do encourage young women to, you know, if they're passionate about something, whether it be a business or like not everyone wants to go to university, but there's so many pathways now that can be chosen where they can do something and follow their passion. It just, I don't know, it lifts you up as a person. And then from like the men's point of view, they've got a partner that, you know, is happy and has a bit of financial independence as well. So look, I think it works exceptionally well together when you both have that passion. Like you both have your own identity and independence, but you come together as one. And I think teaching younger men as well, and like our sons, that it's okay for your wife to have a career and have a bit of financial independence and do something that she's passionate about as well.
Well, yeah, it's not even okay. It's just on par.
Yeah.
It's just normal.
Well, I think it's fantastic because, and as from a mother's perspective, you get to, I always say, have your cake and eat it too. You get to have a career, you get to be a mum, and you get to be a wife. So you get to have it all, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. I don't actually come across many men that have that, you know, archaic view that men should be the earners and the women not. I come across a lot of people where, you know, they've got an agreement between them that one wants to be the stay-at-home parent while the other one's working because that's their lifestyle. I totally get that. But I haven't seen that a lot, but obviously you do see that in your world.
Yeah, I do see that at times, yes.
Yeah. Does it rub you up the wrong way when you see that?
Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, it does. I like to empower women around me if I can help them in any way. Like even down to the ladies who work for me, like if they want to learn or study, I'm all for it. Like, because if you lift them up to do something that they're passionate about, they bring that passion back to your business or, you know, to their family. And I think it's a fantastic thing to have.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting, my background, I grew up with my parents separating when I was 6, and then I lived with my mum, and she was on social security, but I went to a private school, so I was a mixed bag, and finances were tough growing up. You know, I don't have a memory of any cash flow, and so for me, I came through, and I always knew that I'd do a profession, and I always knew I needed to do that for my brain, you know, my brain. Yeah, she's nodding. And a curious cat. And but for me, then when I went through, I did the highest level of qualification that is possible in psychology, clinical psychology, clinical PhD. But for me, the whole way through was no matter what, I was not going to be vulnerable. I wasn't going to be vulnerable because I grew up vulnerable. You know, I grew up without choice. And I grew up with that stress of, is the money going to be there for the next meal? You know, and it wasn't quite that dramatic, but it didn't feel secure. And so for me, the, you know, it's so profoundly important to be in a strong position just within yourself, so you're not vulnerable. And so then when you transfer that to life experience, where you actually are in different situations where you can easily be vulnerable, such as leaving a toxic relationship, a DV relationship, you know, it really comes into play, doesn't it?
Definitely.
If you've had that kind of approach generally.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that's how it was, I suppose, when we left. Like the cash flow was not flowing by any means, but there was enough there to survive. So, you know, we got through, and things have improved since then. Like, I've grown my business earlier than I would have anticipated with like my youngest was only young at the time. Everything just had to ramp up earlier. So, but then I look back and I go, well, I don't think my kids have missed out because of it. They've seen that, you know, if you work hard, you achieve what you set out to. So I think that's also an important message, that they know that we struggled, but, you know, if you work hard and you, I suppose, stick to your plan and your goals on what you want to achieve, you will eventually get that financial independence. So, which now, like today, is far more than I ever imagined that I could ever achieve. And then people say, well, when are you going to stop? Well, I don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that I'm passionate about, and it's something that I love. So if you can derive an income from something that you love, well, why not do it?
And do you mind explaining what you do?
So I've got a bookkeeping firm. So we specialise in bookkeeping, payroll and BAS, and currently employing 11 staff.
There you go.
So back, you know, when I left, it was just myself as a sole trader working on, you know, working hours around my kids. And yeah, now we have an office that is at capacity, and I have a team of girls that are fantastic working with me. So if someone would have told me 16 years ago, because we're at 16 now, that this is where I'd be today, I probably wouldn't have believed them.
Absolutely. You know, I often meet young mums or out of school, and I'll say to them, you know, what's your plan? What are you going to do? And they say, oh, I want to have babies. Yeah. And I don't have a problem with someone who's highly, you know, I've got 5 kids, who's very maternal.
Yeah.
But it is such a short-term focus, isn't it? It's not thinking, okay, well, life doesn't always go well, and you do need to be able to back yourself. You do need to be in a strong position.
Have a plan B. Yes.
Yeah, just be in a strong position, you know, for your family, even if things go well, then it's still a strong position.
Well, that's exactly right. Even if you are in a perfectly good relationship, you know, things just financially can go wrong. Like, if, you know, it's probably opening another can of worms, but if you look at interest rates, the pressure that then puts on a family. So if there's financial independence on both parties, well, then both can pitch in. And look, I have no problem with people that want to stay at home and just be a mum. That was my goal. That's all I ever wanted to do. But life pushed me in a different direction. So, and it was obviously for a reason. But if you've got two parties that are, you know, financially contributing to the family, it does help dodge curveballs as well, you know, to give that stability for a family.
Yeah, yeah. And going back to the earlier point as well, there's no question with regard to domestic violence cycles continuing, perpetuating, financial limitations, you know, lack of choices is a risk factor.
Correct. Yeah.
Black and white.
Yeah.
And so this is really about saying, hey, how about we really pay attention to that and try to reduce that risk factor so that you don't become a statistic.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a choice. Because if you are in that situation and you can't get out, I know personally, if we were in that situation and we couldn't get out, what we had dealt with it was just escalating more and more. So it would have ended up, well, we were predicted it could have ended up tragic. So by one of the treating doctors. So if I didn't have those choices, life would have turned out far worse than where we are now.
Absolutely. So do you find with your kids that you really find it, a focal point with parenting?
Definitely. I encourage all of the kids to be financially independent and look after their money, whether it be the boys or the girls. And now our kids are getting to the age where they're bringing partners into the family, and empower those girls too, and encourage them to be the best they can, and help them out wherever we can. They're part of the family, but I think it's very important that message gets across, that they both respect each other in the relationships, and they both are happy to be financially independent, because I think that makes for a stronger family. And they all know the story, like they know what has happened, because I don't want to see that cycle ever happen again in our families. So that is a message that is definitely, portrayed to the kids, that there's zero tolerance for violence. Like I don't have any tolerance for it at all.
No.
And I'm very lucky, like our kids are fantastic. So very, 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 very blessed in that regard. So
yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about financial vulnerability being a risk factor for domestic violence, I think it's also really pertinent to talk about this issue, which is it's not actually how much you make that really brings the finances up, so much as how much you spend.
Yes.
I know plenty of people that have very high-paying jobs and no money in the bank and no investments.
Yep.
Because they are spending big.
Yes.
Either on lots of toys or lots of, just retail or lots of alcohol, actually.
Yep.
And so it's not even go out and get a great job. It's, okay, go get something you really enjoy that's reasonable. Doesn't even have to be the best. But be mindful that your spending is not
to look after
excessive.
Your money.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that you are actually being long-term focused, and you're looking after your money.
Being
so
responsible.
So that it grows, so that it's there. Not to be a total Scrooge and not have quality of life, because it's balance, isn't it?
That's right, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, like we always say, if you look after your money, it looks after you. So, and it's got to be a balance. Like, you've got to be able to enjoy what you've earned, but you've also got to have money there for a rainy day, or invest, and that's where... if you've got those skills, that you give that back. So, if you've got those skills or the knowledge, and you've got someone starting out, you can show them how. So an example is some of the young people that work for us, because we've got two businesses. When they're young and starting out, we've shown them how to save so that they can put money aside, and they've gone and bought their first houses at very young ages. So if you have that wealth of knowledge, I believe you should share it and mentor younger people to show them and guide them how to do it. So, like, don't do it the hard way like we've done it. From the lessons we've learnt, show them how. And we've done that numerous times. So, it helps the younger generation to, I suppose, to get a foot in the door in the real estate market, or investing some money, or, and it's good to help.
Yeah, and people can learn that financial intelligence from having mentors or friends, but sometimes people don't have that access, so
yeah,
they're in a bit of a spot there. So
yes, yeah,
hopefully they can. I mean, there's going to have to be resources out there where you can. I don't know where you can learn this sort of material. Books, reading books.
Yeah, books, and there's government funded like mentoring programs. So the government's funding mentoring for growth. So I'm one of the mentors in that space, where if you you might have a business idea, or you might have started a business or trying to look at a career, like there's government services available where you can access professionals in that space that are volunteering their time to mentor, that can guide you or help you answer, questions on, it might be how to set things up, or, have you come across this problem, or, that space is available as well in the government space as, mentoring. It's called Mentoring for Growth. So
well, there you go. There's a plug. I didn't even know we could bring that one up. That's great.
Yeah. So there are avenues out there, and just ask questions of people around you. Like, most people are happy to share.
Yeah, definitely. I was the kid at school who, whenever we would cover something, I would always say why. Always. So we'd be in biology and they'd be saying, well, this and this and this, and I was like, yeah, but why? And I always needed to understand the why so that I could absorb that information, make it my own, and that's just how I learn. And so for me, this is bringing us back to schooling, and the school says, work hard, go get a good job, go get a good career, but I don't think they say why.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. And I think they really need to, because I don't think there's an emphasis with regard to why. And if you don't have the why, what's going to motivate you to get on board?
Yeah, not a lot.
Apart from just because society tells you to, or because of parents' expectations, that's not going to have a lot of pull for the 18-year-olds. So I think there just needs to be more conversation about, life's a ship. It's about stocking it up for the long haul. Be strategic, put yourself in a strong position so that then when, you're either going to sail better, or when the knocks come, you're going to have the capacity to ride the storm and change direction and get out.
Yeah, it gives you the ability to change that direction.
Yeah. So I think that's why I'm passionate about, personally, that's why I'm passionate about this, to just get people more big picture thinking and more strategic.
Definitely, because you can set them up for success. So it may not ever be required, but you've set them up for success because you've shown them how to do it a different way.
Absolutely.
And you've taught them how to do it a different way.
Well, it's win-win, isn't it? Because
Definitely.
Even if life does sail pretty well, you're going to benefit from that. You can't go wrong.
Totally agree.
And for me, it was such a blessing for me to grow up with this insatiable appetite for having a very ambitious outlook to just not be vulnerable.
Yes.
It's a real gift that came from my childhood, and I appreciate it.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Yes, I left mine till my youngest was 2, and then decided that I would go and study at university to be where I am today. I was a bit slow off the starting blocks.
How old were you?
I would have been to about 24, I think.
That's young.
That's a long time ago.
That's young.
But yeah, no, that's when I started, and it kind of opened up a lot of avenues for me, which I'm very grateful for. Like, we are very fortunate, and I do like to share that knowledge so that we can help other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Inspiring people and just really solid advice. It's good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bec, for coming in, and I really love our topic today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We did it. We got here.
We did.
Well done. Thank you, darling. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, everyone, if you want to catch me online, we've got the website, KirstenHunterAuthor.com, Facebook and Instagram, Kirsten Hunter Author. Thanks again.
Thanks, Kirsten.
Bye.